There we go. Should be up and running.
Well, this will be the first time that I've actually had ad block software on my computer after having restarted. So it'll be interesting to see if it works now.
Yeah. Hopefully. Shooting B-roll today, huh?
Yeah. We're going into Portland and a couple of the suburbs to shoot examples of art in everyday life. Whether it be actual art installations or...
fascinating.
Yeah. Or other things like architecture, stuff like that. So,
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Since you tried so hard and everything.
Yeah. Oh, this morning is going to be fun.
Yes.
Let's see. Output device. I need that to be built in, or else we are going to get the feedback.
We don't want the feedback.
No, the feedback is a bad thing.
The feedback is a bad thing.
Si, senor. It is terrible.
We no like it. We see it, we be like, no, I no like it. Okay, I'm going to do a quick sound check on my soundboard. Make sure it's getting the levels like I want them to be.
No problem. Kirk wants to know what you guys edit with.
Oh, okay. Hey.
Hey.
Chris.
What?
Did it sound okay to you at the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Rocket then. Ow. Okay. Okay, so the question is...
What does your wife edit with?
Oh, what does my wife edit with?
Yes.
Oh,
like,
right now...
Because you're talking about B-roll.
Right. Right now, she uses... well, I'm not sure what she's going to be using for this project. She just did some videos for a class that are like instructional stuff, and for those she used Final Cut X, which I know every professional in the world hates right now, but it has very big, strong possibilities.
Those
and it's getting better.
Those professionals are actually changing their tune. A lot of them just had to scrap their knowledge and kind of embrace it. And those that have, and the updates that Apple has put out with it, they say that it's actually, it really is better.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of changing your thought process. You used to do it this way, and now you just have to shift the way that you do it.
The only thing that really got her this time around is, for whatever reason, it didn't autosave. Like, it doesn't even have a save button. It's supposed to autosave, like, all the time. Right. And for whatever reason, it crashed at some point, and she lost an entire session that she had spent like 4 hours working on. So that was kind of a drag.
Yeah.
But she often uses the newest version of Premiere as well, because since it has come back, it has actually gotten quite good. And she has She has Avid, but isn't really a fan. It eats up way too much memory, and it's really one of those things you kind of have to have a dedicated machine to really be able to work it well. So anyway, but yeah, Kirk, she uses the Premiere and she likes it. But because she teaches video editing a good bit, she has to kind of know a decent amount about all three programs. But typically, Final Cut has been her go-to, although the new Premiere is good. So, yeah. And back in the day, I edited on the old Premiere before it went away, and also a little bit on Final Cut, which was also interesting. So, way back in dim days. But, yeah, so, anywho. Good stuff. Yes, Chris is very dedicated to this pre-show preamble because he is just sitting there talking on his phone. But because of the delay, he might be off of his phone by now, and I wouldn't know it.
I am back. Sorry. That was my father-in-law, so I had to.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh, fun. Yeah, we used some Super VHS decks back in the day, too. As a matter of fact, I have a old video montage of September 11th footage put to, it was to one of the POD songs off of Satellite. It was the first song off that album. It wasn't Alive, but let's see here. I know no one cares about it. Set It Off. So I did a film of September 11th footage to Set It Off, and that was very fun. But unfortunately, it was only on Super VHS, so I was never able to get it onto anything that played on anything else after that was over.
Do you still have it?
Maybe somewhere. I don't know where it is.
Because my parents used to have an SVHS recorder, and it came with an adapter that would allow you to play it into a VHS recorder. Nice. And I might still have that adapter floating around somewhere.
Oh, okay.
So
if I run across my VHS tape, then I'll let you know.
Okay.
Of course, it may be old enough to where it may have degraded enough where it may not matter anymore. Because this was, it was in college, and it was like sophomore year maybe. So that would have been 2002. So it's been like 12 years. Man, that's depressing.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's amazing how quickly time flies. Speaking of time flying, we need to get going soon.
Yes, we do.
Because I got to be done. I have to go to the airport and pick up a buddy of mine who's coming in for another buddy's seminary graduation. And I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
All right, so we think we're ready?
As far as I know, unless something's changed.
Not that I'm aware of. All righty then. I got to make sure I play the right song too. Okay, so let's get ready to hit record in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of the Rock in a Hard Place podcast. My name happens to be Chris Cooner. I am your host, as well as a DJ with Broken FM. If you like Christian rock, be sure to check them out, broken.fm, or download the free app for the iPhone, for Android, for Roku, for Kindle. I think that's pretty much all the devices out there that we've got it covered. And I guarantee you, if Apple ever opens up apps on the Apple TV, we will have an Apple TV app. I'm making that promise right now. I will make sure that it happens. Joining me, as always, my good friend, my colleague. He's the other guy on the end of this microphone, and his name happens to be Paul Gibson.
Hey, what's up, my people? This is Paul Gibson, and I host the Christian Rock 20 Countdown. You can find us on thechristianrock20.com, and just super excited to do the show every week, both this one and the Christian Rock 20. So happy to be back again.
Yeah, you got your stuff out a little late this week.
Yeah, it was one of those weeks where there was just a lot of stuff going on for me personally, and it just never seemed to let up. And so I finally got it all done, and it's a good show. I mean, it turned out well. I didn't feel like I had to slack on it, but yeah, it just took a while. So it got done in chunks.
I have to edit the promos this morning and get them up and put them in so that we can actually start letting people know who the real guest is going to be this week.
Right.
That kind of advertising kind of idea. So
yeah.
Well, we're happy to be back in the Ustream chat room, and granted, we're a little early this week. Today is actually Thursday, and we're recording it early because I'm gone this weekend. I actually get some time off, some time away. Boo. I get to go camping, so I'm excited about that.
Camping.
You're like,
My wife and I both
whatever.
agree that camping means that you have dial-up internet.
Oh, well, we're staying in town. There's a group site near. I mean, seriously, we'll be less than 15 minutes away from our house. So it's not like we're going out into the deep wilderness. It's just we all like to get together and sit around a campfire, and while you're there, you may as well just throw your tent up and take a nap at night.
Okay, sure, why not?
Oh man. Well, let's get started with the piece of news that for me personally is most exciting, and I'm actually surprised because everything that I'd read into conversations regarding this apparently were completely wrong.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So Love and Death is apparently working on a new album.
Yeah, they are. See, what I tell you, man. I knew they wouldn't let us down.
I don't know. I was going off of what Brian said in a few interviews. And I mean, the fact that they lost their drummer to the band Red, that kind of made another hurdle for me, for them to have to overcome in order to actually make this happen. So I'm surprised, but I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Brian's experience back with Korn has done as far as his writing and playing style, to see what kind of juices are flowing, having that energy reignited from the Korn side of things.
Just true. Although I feel a little stupid now that we brought that up because I totally forgot to mention that they were going into the studio in my hard news for the show this week. Man,
time
there's
to
so
re-record.
much stuff going on. Oh, heck no. That ain't happening.
Just a quick edit. Sorry,
No.
guys. New segment.
There's no such thing.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens once that album comes out. We will definitely be keeping our ears open for that new album. So we're very excited to see what it is that Love and Death has in store for us in that regard. I mean, my guess is sound-wise it's going to stay similar to what it's been, which...
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I'm projecting a little bit, but I think that it's safe to say that they've gotten the sound that they want. It's just a matter of new music within that sound.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't expect anything that's going to be a major departure. Although I think that it will be interesting to see how JR's role in songwriting will change from the last album to this one. Because the first one, I mean, they didn't do a whole lot. I don't think he did a ton of writing. I think he wrote several riffs, and that was about it. And then, of course, I think he had a big writing hand in that bonus song that they put out with the re-release of their Between Here and Lost album. So I think that he'll probably have a more of an active role in the writing portion. So it'll be interesting to see if that will change anything, and also if he'll do more vocal duties like he did on that extra song as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see what role he'll play. How much of a bigger role will he take on? Because, I mean, Brian has said that he's never been totally comfortable being the lead singer.
Right.
That's not where he feels his strong suit is. And I mean, those of us that have listened to the band for both albums now would disagree with his assessment, because I think he does a fine job. They've got a great sound. It's not like everything else that's out there. It's different enough to make it stand out and to make you go, wow, that's really cool. Yeah. So, I think it's a lack of confidence for himself to be doing it that way. I think that's, just that's, he's being self-deprecating, and it's not really necessary, but it's something that only he can make the decision as to whether he's going to accept that or not. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And I mean, JR did great on vocals, but I would be very disappointed if it was just a JR only vocal Love and Death album. So,
yes.
Well, I doubt that'll happen, but it's, we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. I think it depends on where Brian happens to, where his head happens to be when he steps into the studio. It's also going to be, sorry, that was a really bad pun. That was completely unintentional.
Because his nickname is Head.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. Yeah, it's Thursday morning. I have had 2 cups of coffee, but it hasn't really kicked in yet. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. But it will be interesting to see where he is thought-wise when he steps into the studio to start recording this and all of that. So I'm excited about it. I really am. It's also going to be interesting to see what kind of acceptance the album has, because I know a lot of the community has distanced themselves from Love and Death because of Brian's return to Korn, which I feel is just really sad.
Yeah, it is.
There's no reason for them to push themselves away unless he's done something to actually make it necessary for them to feel to do so. Him just going back and playing with his old band, I don't see the necessity in pushing away from that.
Right. Well, and I think that maybe they have unrealistic expectations of what he feel being a Christian may be to a certain degree. I think it's part that, and also part maybe thinking that he may have more pull in the band than he does.
Yeah.
Because I think there were a lot of people, and maybe even to a certain degree myself included, that maybe had this weird hope that he would go back to Korn, and because him and Fieldy both were claiming the Christian faith, that all of a sudden the Korn albums would be squeaky clean. There would be no more cursing. They would be, just music, kind of like, maybe for lack of a better comparison at the moment, stuff that is kind of innocuous, like maybe like the first Linkin Park album. I mean, there wasn't any cursing. A lot of people wondered because of that if they were a Christian band at first, just because, they had toured with POD and they didn't have curse words or whatever. And, I think that asking for that kind of a change around immediately is kind of asking a lot. But it is nice to know that the band, is running a clean tour now. They're not, they're not getting loaded every night. They're not, on the drugs anymore. And I think that that's a huge step. And you can only expect so much from a group of guys who have grown up doing things one way for well over a decade.
Yeah.
To make rather quickly. And they're not there yet. And if they ever get there or not, I don't know. But I think that it's going to have to be some baby steps and expectations for them.
Yeah, totally. I agree 100%. It's just I mean, does Korn really need to be a Christian band?
Well, no, and I'm not even saying they need to be a Christian band.
No, but I feel like there are people that are expecting that because of Brian and Fieldy. It's like, well, you guys need to assert your influence over that, and it's like you can't force people to do things that they don't want to do. And if Jonathan and I can't even think of the other guy's name.
Monkey.
If those two guys aren't into what it is that Brian and Fieldy are into, then it's a matter of find a way to coexist, and you benefit both sides. Obviously, Monkey and Jonathan understand that if they want to keep Brian in the band, that the language is going to have to be tame, the messages are going to have to be tame, and all of that good stuff. I think that Monkey and Jonathan are making enough concessions for Brian and Fieldy to be in the band that they don't need to push their agenda. Brian and Fieldy don't need to push their agenda anymore.
Right. Well, let's face it. That's the reason why a lot of people dislike Christian music in general, is because it is an agenda-driven idea. And, even when you have people who perform music that are of a different faith, usually that's a very small part of their music, and it's their lyrical content is about life, or maybe about partying, or about whatever. I mean, it's about usually a lot of different things.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people get hung up on Christian music. It's like, oh well, when are they going to bring in Jesus into this? And it's like, well, I get where you're coming from, and it is kind of hard to swallow something where it just feels like you're constantly being sold something, and it can be hard for as an outsider to get through that. So I don't know. I mean, you have to be able to let people take a breath. And I think for Fieldy and for Brian, I think it's a matter of, look, we're showing you what we're living through and how it's affected us. And we want you to be a part of that. But if you're not, then we're not going to treat you as a lesser human being because of it. And I think if the rest of us can learn to do that, we'll be doing pretty good.
Yeah. No, I think you're dead on there. You should never, ever feel like you have to market Jesus. Jesus should not be a selling point.
No.
That should not be the main. I mean, Jesus should be the main focus, but selling Jesus should not be the main focus.
Right.
I mean, you and I use terms like Jesus per minutes and all of that kind of stuff. And it's half joking, but there's a large segment of the industry that feels that that's kind of their bread and butter. That the more they say Jesus, the more likely it is that they're going to be able to sell albums. And I think that's where you miss out on the ministry side of things, because the ministry side of things is dealing people with where they are in real life. And that's what I like about a lot of Christian rock, is that it deals with people where they are in real life. It deals with people that are hurting, that are going through difficult times. And I especially appreciate that with bands like Love and Death, because Brian is coming out of the mainstream world and he's helping to share what his experiences were and to tell people, look, there's a better way. It's not always the easier way, but it's the better way.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. I don't care if anyone else is. You know? So if you don't like it, screw you. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Tell me how you really
do
feel,
it.
Chris.
That's going to do it for this
don't hold
show.
back.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Probably just lost like 12 listeners.
We jest, people. We jest.
Yes, we do. We do. Absolutely. Let's see. So, other news-wise, we found out yesterday that surprisingly enough, Kevin Max is no longer the lead singer for Audio Adrenaline.
Right.
One album and out.
Right. I think everyone was like, yes, but huh?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So the story came out about Audio Adrenaline moving forward with a new lead singer, and he is from the band Abandon.
Right. Yeah, it was their lead singer that they had for a long time, and evidently he's been gone since 2010, I think, or 2012.
Okay.
So I mean, he's been gone for a while. So the current iteration of Abandon was already without him. So it's not like he broke up the band to be an Audio Adrenaline. But yeah, his name's Josh Engler. He was on the Christian Rock 20 way long time ago, back when they were first signed to Forefront. And he was a super cool dude. And I like his voice, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays in to the next Audio Adrenaline record. So
Totally.
I don't know.
So I guess that we got that announcement, and then it was after that that Kevin Max released his side of the story. And it sounds like everything was an amicable split, but Audio A really wanted to head more towards a worshipful style.
Right.
And that's not where Kevin wanted to be. Kevin wants to be on the more rocky side of things, which for his vocal makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the angle, is that Kevin has decided he stepped down of his own accord.
Right.
I think that Will wanted him to continue to front, but I think Kevin just decided this is a direction that we're not going to go, or that I'm not going to go.
Yeah, you're not going to go that way with me.
So he decided to step down, and he actually announced a new solo project.
Which is funny, because it feels like this solo project has already gotten more buzz than any of his other previous solo projects for like the past 10 years. So, I think if nothing else, it's good for him that he was the lead singer of Audio Adrenaline, just because it reminds people that he's around. Because his last few solo projects before then, it was like, oh yeah, Kevin Max put out something else. Oh well.
Well, now he put out a letter, and in that letter he talks about his history with Audio Adrenaline and how privileged he was to have been selected to sing for the Kings and Queens album and be a part of the band at that point. And going and seeing Mark Stewart's vision with the whole Hands and Feet project, being able to do things in Haiti, all of this stuff. I mean, it was lovely for him to have that opportunity. But then he said that what that helped him do, and Paul, you have the letter handy, so you can probably help fill in the blanks that I'm leaving. What that helped him do was to pull him out of himself, which he apparently was very into, and to help him realize there's a lot more going on and kind of bring him back to a better place.
Yeah, here, let me read you this paragraph real quick, because it states what you're getting at exactly pretty well. It says, as many of you know, I've spent a prior decade in solo music. After DC Talk, I went through a period of finding myself and learning the hard way that without a team around me, left to my own devices, I could easily get lost in myself, lost in my ego. God found me and broke me of my pride, and then he brought me back to Nashville. I've spent the past 2 years being refined and restored. I feel revitalized. I'm excited about what is around the corner for my life, friends, and the music that God continues to gift us with. I have no desire to run from Nashville. I have no desire to run from what I have continued to pursue in the Christian arts. If anything, I feel that these last 2 years have given me the tools and desire to make the best art I can within this industry. One of the first DC Talk monikers was if it's Christians, it ought to be better. That's my new goal, and again, more than ever, a slogan for life. I, Kevin Max, promise to dive deep into music, poetry, stories, and imagination, but most of all, into the web of wonderful relationships and people that God has brought into my life on this amazing journey of the soul. I love the way he says things. It's so fun.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, I think that's the artist side of him, you know, that's sharing all of those details. Now, in the chat room, Kirk says, I think he has a really good reason. But then he says, I'm sorry, we don't need a worship version of Audio A. We have enough worship versions of solid bands. He then goes on to say, I am now so unexcited with the new Audio A album, but I am excited about the new K-Max.
Right. So so let's rehash just briefly. He's leaving Audio Adrenaline because they're too worshipful they're going in a too worshipful direction.
Right.
And he's going to do his own thing because he wants to do something more rock. I now present to you a clip from his new single called Infinite. Get ready to giggle.
Whatever you think is love, 'cause love is infinite. Whatever you think is peace, 'cause peace is infinite. Whatever you think is good, whatever you think is right, whatever you think he is infinite.
I wish I had a lighter.
But it cracks me up because my first reaction was, okay, I'm getting ready for a rock song. He's doing a rock song because he doesn't want to be in the worship stuff. He's going to do, what is this? I like it. Don't get me wrong. I like it.
No,
it's good.
It sounds good. Yes.
It's good, but it feels almost like classic rock comes out of a time capsule and covers a worship song.
Yeah, I could see that. That.
I don't know. I mean, it's cool, and I enjoy it, but it's so hard to swallow after the whole, like, they're making worship music, so I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, Kirk says, he said it was very Beatles. It's not bad, but yes, a bit on the worship side. And, I mean, I know K-Max is into a lot of the old school rock bands. I mean, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, those are kind of his. Rod Stewart, those are kind of his inspirations from the mainstream world. But I do like the way that he said, if it's Christian, it ought to be better. And I think that's kind of the motto that a lot of bands are trying to live by now, but unfortunately there's a lot of bands that aren't trying to live by that. It's just a matter of, let's crank something out, let's say Jesus a few times and slap a sticker on it that says clean lyrics and everything will be okay. Right. And it's that mentality that drives me nuts. I love seeing guys like Toby Mac, like Skillet, who I feel could be a little more bold in some of their songs, but I think that because they're experiencing some mainstream success, that they've hit it obviously right enough in the middle to where they can find that mainstream acceptance without sacrificing on the Christian side of things.
Yeah.
And apparently Jesus Freak Hideout has an interview with K-Max.
That's right.
So Kirk just mentioned that. I have not read it yet either. I did not see that, but it was posted last night. So check out Jesus Freak Hideout and read that interview. So it's going to be interesting to see where Audio Adrenaline heads. Like Kirk, I was really excited when they brought K-Max on because I thought, he's going to breathe some new life into this band that, I mean, until then it was the No Hope Collective and they were doing worship style stuff. And I didn't feel like it was really going that big for them. Yeah. But for them, so they do Kings and Queens. And I mean, it was a good selling album. They had a lot of success with it.
Yeah.
But then now all of a sudden after the touring's done and it's time for a new album, it's we're gonna go back to worship. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I can't say that I get it, and I mean it's funny because I was having this discussion with Dave, who runs the ChristianMusicArchive.com, and we were talking to each other, and we were like, why is it that rock Christian, especially Christian rock artists, when they get older, they just mellow so much? It's like, what's wrong with staying rock? You know, and I understand if you're tired, it doesn't mean you have to do crazy touring and try to do backflips and stage dive and all that. But why is it that everyone is like, once they get past like 35 or so as a Christian rock artist, that like 80% of them all of a sudden go into folk or worship stuff, and you're just going,
well, except Toby Mac, because he's 50
and he's ready to rap. Word. See, now here's what I'm a little sad about. I'm a little sad that this didn't happen closer to April Fool's, because as Kirk has pointed out in the chat room, there's whenever you start talking about him breaking off, the first thing that everyone thought was DC Talk reunion.
Right.
And I wish it had happened closer to April Fool's, because it would have been so great to be like leading up to April Fool's, be like, oh, and on another side note, Tate has left the Newsboys.
Right.
And Toby says something about see you in a bit. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, Kirk is saying that he wanted the Toby Mac Newsboys Audio Adrenaline, tour, which I very badly wanted. Yeah. And then to have him come out after all three have performed, come out and just do a couple of songs as DC Talk. Yeah. I think it would have been fantastic, and they would have sold out everywhere. Yeah. There would not have been a seat available anywhere on any of those tours had the three of them gotten together and done that. It's sad to me to see that won't happen in that way. But there's so much pressure on Toby right now to reunite DC Talk that he said himself, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And he feels that the timing's got to be right. When you've got this many people clamoring for it, you don't want to rush into it, because then you screw it up. I would almost be willing to bet money that Toby has DC Talk songs written in a notebook somewhere, and he's just waiting for the right time to get the guys back together to record.
Right. Now here you want to talk about like the crazy ultimate. I mean, we've already talked about, like the Newsboys Audio A, Toby Mac tour, and then the DC Talk. Let's expound upon that just a little bit. How would it be if they expounded on that even more and expanded it? Because what would it be like if they did Audio Adrenaline, Newsboys, the Peter Furler Band, Steve Taylor, DC Talk, Audio A, all together? Because they've all had such huge hands in each other's careers, and then you could end up with little things like the stuff that Steve did with the Newsboys. You could have him come out to do that, and then you could have Peter come out to do like Shine with the Newsboys, and then you could have Kevin come out to do Kings and Queens with Audio A.
Yeah.
And you have all these weird cameos throughout. You could
Kevin
do an
wouldn't even
all-day
have
festival on that.
I mean, if there were any way that Mark could come and sing one song, I would love to see Mark come back sing My World View with Kevin from, because I mean, that's how that was where the two of them kind of crossed over, it's, I don't know, that to me would be like an epic all day festival, that's like Winter Jam in a box right there.
Right.
I think it would ultimately, that would be the ultimate, to hear Peter sing with the Newsboys again, to see those crossovers happen live on stage, kind of relived. But I think the only way you capture the true magic of that is if Mark miraculously gets his voice back and is able to come back and sing with Audio Adrenaline. Yeah. I think that's kind of a small component, but I feel like it would make that day just completely unabashedly epic.
Right. We need to figure out a way to grow new vocal cords for him in a jar.
Oh,
and then,
man, you're not kidding. You think with all the stem cell research and everything that they can't, they haven't figured this out. They can grow an ear in a petri dish, for Pete's sake. for grafting. Kirk says that I saw K-Max Audio A live once. They were good, but it was interesting hearing Kevin sing the old songs. And I can imagine that.
Yeah.
It was the same for me growing up listening to Petra with Greg X. Voles and then hearing John Schlitt take over and hearing John go back and sing the old songs. I think that's like that for anybody who's been a fan of a particular who's been a fan of a particular band for a really long time. When you hear the new guy singing the old stuff, it's like, I feel very uncomfortable right now. This should not be happening. So
it's like seeing somebody who that's married off on a date with like a girlfriend or something out of nowhere. You're like,
well, that's say someone loses a spouse.
Oh yeah, that too.
And then you see them dating. It's kind of this weird. Really? I mean, I have a buddy of mine. He and I did ministry together for years. He and it was his wife and him and my wife and I doing junior high ministry for years. And he ended up leaving ministry and moving to Arizona so that she could be closer to her family that lived in Arizona. And she ended up having a lot of she had a lot of medical issues, and it caused her to take a lot of painkillers. And so she became addicted to those painkillers and ended up she went to rehab. And they thought it was going to work, and then like a few days after rehab, she ended up taking her own life.
Oh no!
So then that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he just got remarried a couple weeks ago, and it's awesome because he remarried a girl, or he married a girl who they had actually dated in like junior high and high school years.
Wow!
And so after this happened, they kind of reconnected. And then things progressed and they ended up getting married. So it's like, it's awesome that he's found somebody again and she's a great woman and all of this stuff. But it's just weird to now think it's him and her instead of him and his previous wife. It's like this equation doesn't quite match up in my brain.
Right.
So it's to me, it's that kind of an idea.
Well, this is just so weird and kind of off topic, but I think that my college roommate Paul Anthony is in our chat room right now because his screen name is RatPaul123.
there is a RatPaul123 in the chat room, so that's awesome. Now let's see.
Fantastic. Hi, Paul.
So Kirk first says, "I saw K-Max." Let's see. So did I read that one? Yes, I did read that one.
Did.
So Rat Paul says, I thought for a while that the Newsboys' Furler Tate transition must be exactly... Oh, now it's jumped away from me. Come back here. Come back here. Come on. Come back here. Somebody must have typed something because it pushed me way out. People are typing lots of things. Stop typing! Stop it! Stop it! Let's see here. I thought for a while... that the Newsboys' Furler Tate transition must be exactly what it was like for Petra fans in 85, 86, except Tate was well known in Christian music circles already. And that's true. John Schlitt was coming out of mainstream and into the Christian realm. So really nobody knew who he was when he did take over for Petra. And he had to prove himself, and he had to win a lot of fans over.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And it's weird because now I think Tate kind of lucked out in that they created a fairly long album for their first record and then fairly quickly came out with another one, because now pretty much all they do with their old stuff that was very signature Fuller songs is just a montage.
Right.
So he doesn't have to feel that uncomfortable with it.
It's like a tribute.
Yeah.
Here is a tribute to the dead Newsboys.
Right. Well, and it makes sense because it is so different. I mean, you can't really even think of them as the same band because it is so different.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, the basic genre is the same, but it has such a different vibe to it without Peter on vocals.
Well, and so that's the thing. The Newsboys have managed success with Tate as their lead singer, and the only thing that really is the same about them is the name of the band.
Right. Yeah.
To me, they're a completely different band because Tate brings a completely different style of vocal
and writing aesthetic
and writing to their sound. Audio A, I think, could have had the same success had they continued with Kevin.
Yeah.
because of his unique sound. And that's what set DC Talk apart from everybody, was the three guys together created this completely new, I almost said thing, it's completely new sound together.
Who's doing it? God's doing a new thing.
This completely new sound together, and having Michael and Kevin with both these totally unique vocal stylings mixing in with the whole rap hip hop deal that Toby brought to the table. You know, that's one of those things that I think really helped sell DC Talk as it was. And I mean, by the time Jesus Freak came out, it was like, game over, set, game, set, match. We've done it. We've accomplished what we set out to do. Now, that's not to say their later albums were not as good. I mean, I think Supernatural was a good album. But I think Jesus Freak really just kind of was leaps ahead of where anyone else was at the time.
Right. Yeah.
And we've covered that before. If you want to hear all of that stuff, go back and listen to the DC Talk episode. So, but I think Auto Adrenaline could have had that same amount of success, but I'm disappointed that they're opting to join the worship side of things. I mean, we already have Mercy Me, and we already have
Caedmon's Call.
Yeah, Caedmon's Call.
And now Cutlass.
Pocket Full of Rocks and Cutlass, and all of these great worship bands, they're already doing that. It's the Christian rock side of the market is hurting for quality bands in great numbers. I mean, there's a lot of great music on the Christian rock side of things, but you look at the charts and it's typically the same bands over and over and over again. There's not a lot of new blood that's getting that push up the charts.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know why. I don't know why. Is it quality? Is it is it
laziness?
The marketability laziness? How so?
It is.
How so?
Because people don't want to discover new things. They just want to hear the same thing over and over again.
Well, that may be.
They're like, well, there may be other people who are better than Caedmon's Call and Mercy Me, but I've already got Caedmon's Call and Mercy Me, so why waste my time looking for other things?
Yeah. Here's a band name, Kirk says, New Blood.
Yes.
Desperately needed.
Yeah.
Desperately needed. Okay, well, I think we've beaten that horse.
Yes. That horse is whinnying its death moan.
Was there any other news stuff that we needed to
there's a bunch
deal
of
with?
little things.
All right.
A bunch of little things.
Hit me.
Well, the 68, which is Josh Scoggin, formerly of Norma Jean and The Chariot, have released their new song, which is called Track 1, which will obviously be Track 1. But their album is going to be called In Humor and Sadness, and it's dropping on July 8th, and they're already starting pre-orders for that.
Cool.
And then since we did 68, let's do 610, which of course is Tobin from Flatfoot 56.
Yeah.
They're working on a full-length record, and they're starting a Kickstarter to fund that.
Awesome.
And they're not looking for that much, so it shouldn't take too much to get them over the top on that. And then talking about Kickstarters and pre-orders and all that kind of stuff, 1,000 Foot Crutch launching their pre-order for their next record, and they're looking for every fan to donate $1.
Okay.
That's really all they want. I mean, if you want to do more, that's great. But they're like, we're thoroughly convinced that if every fan donates $1, we'll be totally covered.
Nice. Now, does that mean you get the album for $1 if you support their Kickstarter?
See, I don't think so. And it's a pledge music on this one, so
okay.
It's a little bit different. I'm looking at it now. I don't think you do, because as far as like stuff that you get,
yeah,
they are looking at $25 gets you a physical CD. $10 will get you an all access pass. 15 gets you get you get a sticker and the radio single early, and then you get the new album. But I guess it's all digital.
Did you say $10 gets an all access pass?
Yeah, it says. Well, okay. Let me. Okay, not all access. Never mind.
I'm
This is totally not what I thought. Okay, $10. You'll be the first to get the digital album. So
Okay.
I guess it's like a to the front of the line for getting music.
Because I'm like, holy smokes, $10 for an all access pass. Sign me up.
Right.
I'm there.
So anyway, they have a bunch of stuff on there. It's a little bit harder to read through because of the way it's formatted on Pledge Music as opposed to Kickstarter. It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like they're doing vinyl because Kirk said he's doing the vinyl thing, which is cool. I wish I had more money laying around to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And drumsticks. They do have VIP backstage passes. They're only $500.
Oh, is that all?
That's it.
That's a little out of my price range. $10.
That might be for life. but
$10
still,
I could do.
Yeah. So anyway, they're doing a whole lot of stuff. Their goal. See, this I don't like Pledge Music. I'm just going to say it. I don't like their website. It's so hard to be able to read as far as what exactly it is that they're wanting. There's 38 days left, and I'm guessing it's saying that they're not quite to their goal, but
Kirk
you can't
says
really
that
tell.
63,000 is where they're at.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. All right.
So I don't know what that is of their goal, but
Yeah, I don't either. Because I can't tell. Because it doesn't say this much of this much. See, this is just me saying I'm stupid. I don't understand technology. Blah.
You're such a Luddite.
I know. So
Such a
anyway,
Luddite. 1,000-foot crutch.
So they're doing that, and then on a much lesser note, Hidden Hospitals is doing a Kickstarter campaign. Do you remember those guys? They did Absence of Emotion.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they're doing not that they're a lesser band, they're just not as well known, but they're doing a Kickstarter campaign. Lecrae announced that he's got a new album dropping in August called Anomaly. So
okay, just to go back, it says because the goal was only $1, the percentage is how much they have pledged. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not.
So I guess that it's maybe that they
must have reached
sense.
their goal because
Maybe their goal was $1. Because it says 63,385 times. So maybe it was just the $1 was their goal.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
They're like, we made 63,385 times our goal. We're so
Woohoo!
So I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they're doing well. Let's just put it that way. They've already got a ton of money and they've still got a lot of time left to go. So if you want to support that, you can. Do they need it at this point? Probably not. But, if you're a big fan of 1,000-Foot Crutch, which I am, then you should definitely help them out. And if you really want to buy somebody a signed vinyl, then you should buy that and put down my address.
That's right.
Contact
Absolutely.
me if you want it.
If you want to buy Paul a Christmas gift, go get the vinyl album.
That you should.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like there was other things. Tadashi did really well on Billboard on his opening week. He debuted at number 17, which is really cool.
That is cool.
Although it
Not
is funny
quite a
to
number
think,
one like Lecrae, but hey.
right? But it is funny to me to think, though, back to what being number 17 would mean in sales back when we were in high school as compared to this, because he sold 13,800 copies, which is a ton of music.
Yeah.
But back in the day, that would have been like, oh, maybe you made it into the top 200 barely.
Right.
But now when everyone can just steal it instead, it doesn't happen quite so much. So anyway, so that's good. I'm glad that he did well. And I'm glad he's getting that recognition because I'm sure that the stuff that I've heard thus far off the album is really good. And I like him. He's good.
Now, we dive into some industry stuff every once in a while, and
Yeah.
one thing that I kind of wanted to talk with you a little bit about, Paul, was this idea. It's a shift right now happening for I guess what we would call adult AC and gospel, and that's that Nielsen is actually changing the charting system and how songs are counted.
Yeah.
And so what they're going to start doing, and like I said, Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong in how I present this, but they're going to start counting digital sales as well as digital play counts through services like iTunes Radio, Spotify, Pandora, and all of that kind of stuff as to how they rate things on the charts. Now, nothing has been said if this is going to happen with Christian rock. So it's possible that the AC and gospel is kind of the guinea pig for this.
Yeah.
But I guess they've been doing this with mainstream pop radio for a while now.
Right. That they do, which makes sense because, I mean, the whole idea behind the charts is to say, okay, what are people listening to the most?
Right.
And while you can't guarantee that everybody's listening to radio all the time, you know that if with a pretty good degree of certainty that if they're listening to Pandora or Spotify or any of these other things that stop every now and again just to say, "Hey, are you still there?" That more than likely what's coming out of the speakers you're actually digesting. So this has been a huge thing, and I think that it's good, but at the same time, it makes things very odd. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's cool. It'll be interesting to see how that changes. What I'm afraid of, though, is that it may end up putting too much name recognition power towards certain things. Like, I can almost guarantee you that can assure Skillet a #1 song every time they release one. Not that that wasn't pretty well guaranteed anyway, but I mean, it's like, okay, well, a lot of people like Skillet. They're going to be listening to it, and there isn't even that kind of restraint that you get with radio, because with Christian radio or any kind of radio, for the most part, they want to try to play an artist only at least once per hour, if not an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the station and their own guidelines and parameters that they set up. Whereas somebody could sit down and have Skillet on repeat for hours on end.
Well, see,
and
so
it counts.
I think that there's got to be some kind of a modified accounting system to where
There is.
If they look at this, for every 5 plays on Spotify, it counts as 1 or something like that.
I think it's actually every 100 or every 1,000.
Okay.
I mean, it's a pretty big drop down, but I mean, it still helps. As a matter of fact, they're also doing that towards gold records and towards platinum records. And as soon as they changed that, there was like a line of people who were just instantly eligible, either for singles or albums, to get RIAA status, either for gold or platinum, just because of those rule changes, because they were already there.
Right.
So I think that it's a really good thing. I'm just curious to see how that affects things like an indie artist doing well or not well, as opposed to somebody like a Skillet or a Switchfoot just cleaning up.
Right. Which it's kind of that way anyhow, because a lot of stations don't play the indie artist very often. I think that's shifting due to the fact that a lot of bands are leaving labels, and becoming independent. So you've got bands like TFK and like Project 86 and the Classic Crime and stuff like that are all independent now. So I think the idea behind an independent artist is shifting, but it's still a little bit like of a nebulous area.
Right. Oh man, yeah, it is strange, and odd things are made possible. Like my friend Paul here in the chat room is reminding me about this band called Wolfpack. Anyway, apparently they had several songs that they released, but were just tracks of silence. I mean, there was nothing there. I mean, it was basically empty tracks. But because they get money for every so many plays on Spotify or Pandora or whatever, they asked all their fans to play it on repeat overnight, because it wasn't going to bother them. Of course, the irony of this is any band could do this and just mute the speakers.
Right.
But they did that, and then they wanted to do that so it could help fund their tour. And evidently it worked.
See,
but now
gaming the
they've
system
been
like
banned.
that. Yeah, see, gaming the system like that is not the way to go about it, because it's an ingenious idea for the first band that gets to cash in on it.
Right.
But when that becomes the norm, then suddenly Spotify goes out of business because they're paying all this money that they really can't afford, because it's people gaming the system.
Yeah.
And I mean, mainstream band, I'm assuming. So I can get where their logic would be that'd be okay. But to me, it's the same as stealing.
Yeah, it does kind of border on that, doesn't it? But here's the thing, though. I mean, since then, Spotify, and I'm sure other services like Spotify will probably follow suit if they haven't already, have already said, okay, look, you have to have something in your audio file that we're using. If it's just blank, we're not giving you money for playing silence. That's just stupid.
Well,
call it whatever you want, but that you're not going to get that. I
mean, think about this, though. Like iTunes Radio, because iTunes pays for the playing, the streaming of every song. If I have it on my Apple TV, and let's say we're doing kids songs or whatever, because the kids are around, after so many minutes of playing, I get a pop-up on the screen that says, "Are you still listening?" Right. And I have to physically interact with it in order to tell that I'm still listening. Otherwise, when that song that it's playing is over, it shuts down. It stops playing because it's like, we don't want to play to an empty room.
Right. Exactly.
So, Spotify implement something along those lines where it has a pop-up that says, hey, are you still actually listening?
It does. At least I'm pretty sure it does. I know the free version does. If the paid version doesn't, I would be kind of surprised. And the same thing is true of most internet streams as well.
Right.
Or at least on the ones playing through a browser. Because at my day job, the guys listen to country. I know you would love this, Chris.
Oh, goodness.
So every now and then they'll leave to lunch, and all of a sudden you'll hear, beep, hey, you guys still there? You still listening? Click continue so that we can continue to rock your world with more of more of the Wolf right here, and we'll play more country music for you.
Yeah.
And every time that happens, my coworkers, if they're still there, they groan. They're like, yes, I'm still here. Oh, this is so stupid. And they go over and click, and I'm like, well, that's an advertising thing. It's like the advertisers want to know that you're there, and as much as so does the station, for paying royalties or whatever. I mean, it's to cover everyone's rear end on that one. So
now we don't do that on our stream because we pay a flat fee for the streaming rights. So it's our service is a little different for our app like that. You can turn it on and play, but we don't have to account for what's played over the stream because we pay the flat licensing fee. So we give them a lump sum, and it's up to them to distribute it out to whoever the license holders are based on whatever data. And I have no idea how that side of things work. I just know that we pay a flat fee, and that's all there is to it.
Also, another big part of that where it doesn't apply to you guys is a lot of radio stations sell internet exclusive advertising for their streams. It'll play something different over the internet than it will over the airwaves. So they want to be able to, their advertisers want to know that there's people there.
Right. Totally. Absolutely. I get that.
Who could blame them?
I get that. So it will be interesting to see if this shift does anything interesting for the adult AC Christian music and the gospel Christian music. Because I see something like that, if it does work well, coming to the rock side of things and having that shift like you're talking about. Rock has always been the redheaded stepchild in the Christian realm, so it's kind of the last one to be brought up to speed. But it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens, what will happen if something like that comes into effect, and how that affects the top charts and such.
Cool.
I know they had to do something because, like, for album sales and things, with people being able to buy music digitally, and being able to buy singles instead of whole albums. I know we were talking to Anthony from Red a couple of years ago, and I asked him about the whole iTunes and digital stuff, and he's like, personally, I'm not a big fan of it because it makes it that much harder for bands to get those platinum albums. Because people are buying the music individually. They're only doing the whole, 99 cents for one or two songs, or $1.29 for one or two songs, depending on what the rates are at a given time. So he was a little frustrated, and with that whole style of things. The interesting part is that it didn't necessarily hurt the music industry, but I don't know that it helped it all that much either. So it's really, I don't know, it's really kind of just up in the air. With that.
Well, and it's just, I don't think it's going to improve the music industry as a whole, but I think it just gives more accurate representation of what people are actually listening to, because there's a whole generation of people who just don't listen to the radio anymore at all. But yet they may just sit down and just cruise through YouTube lyric videos and music videos all day long. And that should account for something.
Yeah, totally. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be neat to see how this plays out. And at least it'll give us something to talk about at some point in the future.
That's right, man. That's right.
All right. Any other news stuff? Well, you know what? Let's take a break real quick. We have a review from Tom, and then we'll pick up the new stuff right after this. So hang tight.
All right.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Rock and a hard place. Music. Review.
The Choir. Shadow Weaver.
I'm nobody's angel. I'm not that good. I'm no red devil in the wicked mood. I'm a dedicated minister and a downright sinister man. I'm a whole lot of bad and a whole lot worse than what you think I am.
If you were to ask bands the likes of Switchfoot, Jars of Clay, or Sixpence who their musical influences were, undoubtedly a common denominator between them and a pile of other Christian bands would be the Choir. A legendary career spanning 30 years and a mile-long list of highly impactful side projects will do that. In 30 years, you'll see a lot of evolution in a band. Lineup, stylings, and even the life stages of the band members individually. Now, the Choir fans may be small in number, but the devotion is through the roof. They each have their favorite album that they would label as definitive, and I wouldn't doubt if a good number of them switch their vote to the latest offering from the Choir called Shadow Weaver. The concept of this album was meticulously thought through, and as the title Shadow Weaver suggests, it approaches the contrast between the areas of our lives. In Steve Hindalong's own words, the theme is about contrast. I think that reflects reality. Most of us move back and forth. It's about light and dark, day, night, hope, despair, belief, disillusionment. And that about sums it up. My favorite track and suggestion for a single would have to be the eerie and brooding What You Think I Am. An instant standout, this song pulls you in with its grooving and hypnotic riff, followed by nearly spellbinding lyrics. In between verses, you're greeted by the coolest horns I've heard in a long time. Lyrically, this song addresses the issue of hero worship, and with anti-heroes holding so much popularity in our culture today, this is a song that speaks on so many levels. Derry sings in the chorus, "I'm nobody's angel, that ain't me. What kind of devil do you think I be? I'm a good Samaritan and a very, very bad man. I'm a whole lot better and a whole lot worse than you think I am." Listen, if you play this song once, it's a guarantee you'll play it again. And again. The Choir shows their stage in life in the song It Hurts to Say Goodbye. Derry Doherty divulged that this song was written out of a sort of empty nest syndrome that he experienced when his daughter moved to Memphis and refused to move back home. Now this is something the Choir has always done. No, not the empty nest syndrome, but write songs out of who they are and what they've experienced. And this is something we need more of in Christian music. I love Christian music, but let's be real. There's a good chunk of plastic smiles pasted on within our industry, and some psalm-like honesty is really refreshing. Similarly, the song White Knuckles is the most intensely transparent number on the record. This song addresses the temptations we face as humans, the compromises we make in those temptations, and the excuses we give when we give in. Understand this. Steve Hindalong is a master lyricist, and it's no better displayed than in a verse that says, quote, "If I savor a swallow of communion wine, will I compromise my sobriety? If I clutch the chalice with white knuckles, will Lucifer kneel down by me?" Songwriters drool at lyrics like these. I've had the pleasure of seeing the Choir live, and it was quite the experience. The crowd wasn't big by any means, but everyone but me knew every word to every song and sang along as if they themselves experienced the moments that inspired the music they sang. The new album Shadow Weaver will bring more of those moments. The artistically crafted lyrics of Steve Hindalong, the swirling and transient guitars of Derry Doherty and Mark Bird, all mixed with the heart and emotion of each member, result in a milestone album for a band that many would consider a milestone band. I give Shadow Weaver by the Choir 4.5 rocks out of 5. For the Rockin' a Hard Place podcast, I'm Tom Labonte.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Good stuff. If you're a fan of the Choir, absolutely. Now, I want to say thank you to Tom for that review. And if you want more information about him, you can find him at UCB Canada or rockfortherock.net. So, yeah, I did all that from memory. I didn't even have to pull up the little cheat sheet I made.
That's right. And now Kirk, he asked in the chat room what band Mark Bird was originally from. He was originally from the band Common Children. So I'll throw that out there for you. And he was also in the one with his wife called Glassbird, which was Christine Glass, his wife, and him doing kind of a more folky kind of a thing. But yeah, good stuff all the way around.
All right. So did we have any other newsy stuff that you felt needed to be mentioned, Paul?
Do we want to mention how ridiculous the second annual K-Love Fan Awards were?
I did not pay any attention to the K-Love Fan Awards at all.
My favorite things are like the categories. A couple of them are pretty obvious, like Male Artist of the Year, Female Artist of the Year, Group of the Year, Song of the Year. But then they also have Worship Song of the Year because you have to have that, right? But anyway, and of course, that went to Hillsong United. Who could have ever guessed that they were popular? So there's that, but then there's the weird stuff like first Christian artist to appear on a 7-Up can. Did they just really want to give Jamie Grace something? Because that's not a fan vote. That's a
just
true
what
fact.
it is. Yeah.
It's like the first film to ever be called Star Wars. Who wins? Star Wars! And then, of course, they have Best Sports Impact. I was like, sports? What? So
Is
I
that
guess
like
that means
songs that got played most by sports teams?
No, it's like what sports figure had the most visible impact for God, I guess?
That seems like stretching.
Yeah, it went to Carolina Panthers linebacker Thomas Davis. I don't follow football at all, so that means nothing to me. They had biggest movie impact, which they said went to God's Not Dead, and then book impact, which went to one of the, I guess, the latest Max Lucado book. But I'm just going, really? And it's so funny because their graphic for the awards shows somebody smashing a keyboard, several people jumping with long hair with guitars across the stage, and then randomly someone riding a bike across the stage, which looks like it's exploding underneath them. And I'm like, the graphics of this do not go with everything else.
Yeah. Well, Kirk says K-Love's rock song of the year was Friends by Michael W. Smith.
Right.
So,
well, just in case you're curious, I don't make you go and look this up. Male artist went to Chris Tomlin. Female artist went to Mandisa. Group went to the Newsboys. And song went to Overcomer by Mandisa.
All right.
But
sounds pretty standard.
Is anyone else just getting sick of how huge the song God's Not Dead still is? I'm sorry. I've never liked this song, but I'm starting to hate it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness. And they keep on talking about like how far it's gone. And I think by this point, Michael Tate is getting ready to pound his head against the wall about this song because he's like, oh my goodness.
This will be that one song that haunts him for the rest of his life.
I think so because, now they have the movie that's got the same title that also has the incorporation of the song. So it's like it got this weird revitalization after it was finally starting to die out. Then everyone's like, but I saw the movie. I want to hear the song again.
Yeah.
I'm just going, oh.
I still haven't seen the movie yet. I hear the movie is good, but I haven't seen it yet, so...
I'll be honest. I probably won't see it. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't look like it has that much of an appeal to me. But that's okay.
Yeah, totally.
That's okay. That's just me. But anyway, so yeah. So that's that. And I have no other news. That is the closest thing I could find to news.
Well, let's dive over to this.
Okay.
The Rock in a Hot Place podcast presents
the one and the only.
All right, boys and girls, get ready for
The Stew.
Alrighty then. So the stew this week. I'm very curious to see how Chris does because last week he totally skunked me, and I was not expecting that at all. And this week could go the entire opposite direction for all I know. This one does have a theme, which should be fairly obvious if you can figure it out. I mean, it's not as weird as like, oh, well, the remix of this track combined with the album name and year combines to talk about the name of this movie. It's nothing quite that ridiculous. So it's a pretty blatant theme, but it'll be a matter of whether or not the songs ring a bell and if you remember the movie. Knowing you, I'm betting you saw it, but you probably just saw it once, just about like everybody else.
Okay. Interesting.
So,
well,
and if you get stuck on the movie, I have a very cryptic hint to give you.
All right.
If you get stuck.
Let's see what happens.
All right.
I'll watch the movie, 'cause it's not me. I'm just like everybody else. I'm just like everybody else.
I forgive you. I only hope my neurologist will feel the same.
And one of these days I get myself in gear, but there's a little problem I now face.
Am I really your buddy?
Yeah, sure you are.
Wow. Wow. So the first and third songs I don't know.
Interesting. You know the middle one?
I think it's Hocus Pick.
Ooh, well, you got the band. I thought you might, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like Hocus Pick. I don't know the song.
Okay.
And I don't think I've seen this movie, but I'm going to take a wild stab and guess that it was The Cable Guy.
Oh my goodness, dude, you're on fire.
I've never watched
it. I
it.
have no idea how in the world you pulled that out.
Well, it sounded like Jim Carrey, and that's one of the few Jim Carrey movies that I never saw.
Right.
So I kind of thought...
it got panned so hard.
Well, because it was really dark and stuff like that. I still have no idea. But song 1 sounds familiar to me. So I'm going to play the long version.
Okay.
And see if I can guess it. Song 3 didn't even sound familiar.
No, okay.
So I'm going to play... Let me play the long version of song 1 and see if I can figure it out.
Okay.
I'll watch the movie, 'cause it's not me. I'm just like everybody else. I'm just like everybody else. Because I don't want to be here. I don't want to see this now. It's all wrong, but it's alright.
Man, it's like I know the voice.
Yeah, you do.
But I can't place it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Now keep it...
Is it Reliant K?
Oh, no.
No? Okay.
No. Before Reliant K.
Oh, Kirk says he knows. Go ahead, Kirk. If you know, share it. Because last time you said you knew you didn't know.
He probably does.
So, he might, actually. I got to give him a little bit of credit.
Yeah,
I can't pick on Kirk too much. He lost his 650 gig hard drive today. So Switchfoot Chem 6A.
Oh, yes, it is.
There
that was
you
the
go.
very, very first Switchfoot single.
All right. Well, there you go. Good deal. Okay, Switchfoot. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I don't think I listened much to their early stuff.
Yeah, that was off of Legend of the Chin, which was their first record, and it was big for them, but not nearly as big as the stuff now.
I mean, wasn't that what their name was going to be before they changed it to Switchfoot?
I think so.
Somebody said that, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds right.
So Hocus Pick. Which Hocus Pick song was that?
That's Sofa Logic.
Ah, okay.
And that was their very first single. Total coincidence, by the way.
Okay. So
has nothing to do with the theme.
Track 3. Let me play the long version.
Okay.
Okay, is that Project?
It is Project 86, yes.
Okay.
And the song is Put Your Lips to the TV.
All right. So, Switchfoot, Chem 6A, Sofa Logic, Put Your Lips to the TV. So there's a TV movie thing going on here.
That's right. You got it.
There you go.
Now, see, I'm a little sad that you figured out the movie so quickly because my cryptic hint was going to be the, not Larry.
Oh, okay.
See, and you get it too, right?
There you go. I do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Good deal. Do you have any noise trade stuff this week, Paul, or was this a little too crazy for you?
No, I do. Surprisingly enough, all of it was stuff I had previously downloaded and just hadn't gotten to yet. The first one is a new band. They do kind of what they call an indie alternative worship style. They're called Waken, and it's just an EP, so there's not a ton of songs on it. Let me see. I've got it pulled up here. There are 4 songs. All of them sound fairly different. Like there's one of them that has a female vocalist. The rest of them, I think, all have pretty much just male vocals. And they range in a style of alternative kind of indie stylings. But this one, I think, was my favorite. Now, I will not say that it most or best represents the rest of the EP, but it's still really good. They say that if you like bands like Kai Kai, Citizens, M83, or Washed Out, then you should like this band, according to their noise trade. But it's called the Endless Light EP, and the song I'm going to play a clip from is called All Glory Forever, but it's pretty cool. See what you guys think.
Father, we come, we are done, fully in all of all you are. We stand amazed that you know our names, and all we can say is God, you're
So there you go. That is from the band Waken, and you can find their EP Endless Light on noisetrade.com.
I liked it.
What do you think about that?
No, I liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's different, but it's good. Now, this next band,
I mean, it's kind of 11D7-like.
Yeah, kind of 11, like somewhere between 11D7 and Satellites and Sirens on that particular track. The rest of it sounds a little bit more like Citizens, I guess. A little bit more stripped down indie rock, I guess. But still, all of it's pretty good. And I'm not, you know me, I'm not typically a person who's like, yay, worship music. But this is stuff that I would actually listen to. So
yeah, totally.
Anyway, good stuff. This next band, I don't know if they're together or not. I think every time I'm convinced that they've broken up, they randomly release something new. And you can check out this album, which was their first one, which was originally released on Flickr Records, but is now on noisetrade.com. And then also their second one, and I don't remember what it was called. Well, let me see. I can, well, maybe not. That was a nice little moment of my brain just totally farting all over the microphone. Like, anyway, Royal Ruckus is the name of the band. And their first album was self-titled. Like I said, it was released on Flickr Records, which was, ironically enough, Audio Adrenaline's record label. Very odd band. I mean, they're kind of they're hip hop, but they kind of had that quirky, self-aware thing, kind of like maybe John Rubin did, but they just took it to a whole new level of dorkiness. And their second album was called Pocket Lint and Spare Change, and it's the deluxe edition. But anyway, so they've got these two albums up on there, and then I think they have another one on like Bandcamp or something. But this is a clip off their first one. I think you will either really like it or hate it. They're just kind of one of those groups. This is called Wink and a Nudge. See what you think.
Gorilla song, money made, guaranteed, pop hit, TRL, MTV. Can't you see songs sweet like chocolate fudge? Well, you'll get no respect with that wink and a nudge. I don't comprehend what I see is your version of reality. With a wink and a nudge, you seem to get by, but I don't understand why. I don't comprehend what I see is your version of reality. With a wink and a nudge, you seem to get by, but I don't understand why.
Very, very odd version of hip hop, but
yeah,
it's different though. So if you like that kind of stuff where it's just very self-aware that they're nerdy white guys doing hip hop, then you'll dig all over this.
No,
so,
that sounded really interesting.
Yeah, so check it out, Royal Ruckus on noisetrade.com. 2 albums there.
Because Rapture Ruckus was already taken.
Well, no, this was pre-Rapture Ruckus, I'm pretty sure. Well, their first one was released, I think, like 2001. Maybe?
Oh, wow.
It's been a long time. Yeah. So it was very retroactively released onto Noise Trade. I bought a hard copy of it off of a clearance rack like in 2003. So it's been out there for a while. But anyway, check it out if you get a chance.
Gotcha.
Royal Ruckus.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that is going to do it for us for this episode. At least we should be back to our normal time next Saturday, the 14th at 9 a.m. starting the recording of the live stream.
Yes.
So be sure to join us if you can. If you need the info on where that is, just go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/rockandahardplacepodcast. Or you can check out the website, rockandahardplacepodcast.com. Email us is rockandahardplacepodcast@gmail.com. So much to say. Wow. Well, I guess that is about going to do it for us. So I'm Chris Cooner.
And I'm Paul Gibson.
And you know what? I think we will try to see you next week.
Yay!